am Apostle Nona Ray.
And I'm Apostle Glenda Ray.
And we are God's Girls, keeping it real. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
I'm Apostle Nona Ray.
And I'm Apostle Glenda Ray.
And we are God's Girls. Keeping it real.
We're here to keep it real.
Yeah, we got some real stuff to keep real with today,
Yeah,
too, don't
what
we?
they say, keeping 100, 100.
Not 100. 100. That's an entirely different new word.
Right.
Okay. Keeping it 100. For
You
real.
know, Apostle, it's always such a joy coming on the show. We have such a good time. And a lot of times it's like we really don't even have an agenda or a script, but God just kind of gives us what we need to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful thing.
It is. It's very freeing. And, you know, yes, we do what we need to do to prepare, but there are times when we just don't know where we're going until
Yeah.
we get there. And
Yeah.
so we kind of enjoy that ride. It's good to get out there and kind of wing it for Jesus. So it's good. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing today, right?
Yeah,
We're winging it for the Lord. I told Apostle as we were coming on, we can call this broadcast prayer projects because
Okay.
we want to make you aware of several things that's going on in our world that for the intercessors, the prophets, and all concerned citizens of the kingdom,
Mhm.
that you will take these things and you will begin to commit them to prayer. Because the thing is, if we don't pray, God won't move.
Yeah,
If we don't vote, God won't move.
yeah, yeah.
If we don't make decisions, God won't make them for us.
Mhm.
So
You know, the thing of it is I think a lot of times we expect God to just do it all
yeah,
when He's already done what He's going to do.
exactly.
And He has placed the authority in our hands to run this planet and to run this kingdom.
That He has.
And we have been failing miserably.
Miserably.
And as a result, we're steady crying out to God, 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 God. And He's like, okay, well, what are you going to, something you told me today that just really just kind of blew me. And it's like He said to you, well, whatever you're going to do.
Right. Whatever you decide, I'm going to back you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And God, I mean, we are kings and priests, okay?
Yeah.
We're rulers.
Absolutely.
It's not to say that we don't, we don't consult God. We do. But I've come to find out, Apostle, in all these years we've been serving the Lord, that there are things that we consult God about, and God will say, you choose.
Yeah.
And I'll back what you do, but you
Uh-huh.
better count the cost of what you're
Absolutely.
doing. Absolutely.
Because He's given us the power
Yeah.
to rule and to reign.
And to reign.
And,
Yes.
and to have dominion. We
Yes,
we
indeed.
have that dominion. And so it requires that we know His thoughts and have the mind of Christ
Yes.
so that we can know how to govern and how to
Absolutely.
govern properly.
Yeah, we're not robots.
Right.
But that's being programmed, and the angels are up there pushing buttons and
Mhm.
twisting knobs to get us
Mhm.
to go certain ways. We still have to exercise the power of our decision,
Mhm.
the power of our will to align with what God decides.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, Apostle, we got to know what God's side is.
And the other side of that, God gets a bad rap on a lot of things
Yeah, He
because
does.
the things that He's placed in our hands to command, we are expecting Him to
To
intervene
do.
and to get it done. And when it doesn't happen, then it's like, okay, well, God killed my mama, and God and God took my daddy, and but it's
Yeah.
like we don't understand. We talked about it last week, the ways of God.
The ways of
With-
God.
Many of us don't know the ways of God.
We do not. We don't know the ways of God, and many of us don't understand that the things that are happening in our world, in our dimension, those things that are happening actually are happening because God is trying to show us. He's trying to reveal a direction that we need to move in.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, so
yeah.
it's a great thing, a
Mhm.
really, really great thing to serve God and to know God, but it also comes with great responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was out on the campaign trail this week,
Mhm.
last week, and ran just knocking on doors and sharing, about my run for the campaign, and ran into this one individual. And I mean, the dialogue, actually,
Wow.
we ended up in a debate and
I bet that
but
was
here,
interesting.
yeah, because here you've got someone who's debating me. It's clear you don't know God, and just that word just
Yeah, thank
just
God for the
tore it up.
word on the inside.
Amen, amen.
Yeah,
And
God.
so at the end of the day, he said, well, we're going to disagree to agree.
No such a thing. You do understand that.
That's the way the rhetoric went.
Yeah, I know. I get it. That's what people say instead of saying, I lost the argument, we're going to
Yeah,
agree to disagree. No, we're not.
yeah,
No such thing.
right,
You can't agree to disagree.
yeah.
So, anyway,
So
well,
we
we
want
got
to
some
talk
things.
about some things today, and we would like to get your input and get your involvement in creating a dialogue. So for those viewers that are watching, we're going to be talking about some things, and we would love to hear your feedback and to um, have some comment about what we're going to be talking about, so that we can create a dialogue. Because there are many things that are happening in our world that is affecting our lives individually, as well as affecting the kingdom, affecting the church. And I'm just really kind of concerned, Apostle, that
Yeah.
many people don't really understand and know what we're up against and where this whole thing is going, what the end result is designed to be. And I believe that a lot of believers are on the thinking that that we just do the best that we can,
Mhm.
and that the enemy is the ruler, and that he's in control and governing all things, and that just God is just on the sidelines and can't do anything about
Yeah.
his enemy.
Yeah. And will rescue us in the event that we can't overcome.
Right.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. But
Yeah.
Apostle, it gets back to something that I said a couple of weeks ago, and I actually wrote it down because I wanted to go back and kind of trace my own mind on that thought.
Okay.
The church is congregational, but they're not congressional.
That's good. That's real
We
good.
congregate, we come
Mhm.
together, we're good at all of that.
Mhm.
But when we do come together, we don't legislate.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't legislate. It is almost as if we don't understand the fact that we are in the world and not of the world. That means
Mhm.
that we don't have to deal with anything in the world.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
not our business. It's not
Yeah.
our concern.
Yeah.
We're cut off from it. And yet the things of the world are affecting us each
Mhm.
and every day of our
Mhm.
lives.
Yeah.
And we are, as the ecclesia is a governing body of people in the earth. It
Absolutely.
is our job to govern. The day before separation of church and state, I was just telling my granddaughter this today. There was a time when the church ran the government.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
really and
Mhm.
truly, I mean, the church
Mhm.
ran the government,
Mhm.
and we can still see some vestiges of that. Look at your money.
Right.
In God
In
we
God we
trust.
trust.
So the church ran the government,
Mhm.
and
One
you know,
nation
one.
under God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All of that, the pledges of allegiance
Mhm.
to the flag and
Mhm.
to the republic for which it stands,
Yeah.
one nation under
Yeah.
God. All
Yeah.
of that. The church ran the nation, ran the government, and it seems as if the separation of church and state was a lot more effective than we thought it would be.
Mhm.
We thought it was going to be y'all on this side and we're on this side and we'll run this side and you
Right.
run that
Right.
side.
Right.
But what it actually meant is that we relinquished our power,
Mhm.
and now they're running it all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we are being
Yeah.
very, very affected
Yeah.
by the things that is being decided on our behalf. And so we push, you and I
Mhm.
push a lot in our
Yeah.
conversations to get believers to wake up, stand up, uh, make your voice heard, run for office if that
Mhm.
is what the Lord is
Yeah.
saying. Get involved, make phone calls. You'd be surprised at what a phone call to a congresswoman or man would
Absolutely.
do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That was part of the debate that I had with this individual as I was out. Um, they felt as though, who are we to overturn Roe versus Wade? Feeling like it was infringing upon the rights of women to overturn Roe versus Wade. And I said, well, let me position this to you. Why was Roe versus Wade even a law in the first place? It should have
Exactly.
never been. It was always a thing where, and it goes back to whose body is it? And I shared with them, I said, it's not a woman's body.
It's
God owns
it,
all of the bodies.
and it's a baby's body that you're tearing
Thank
up.
you. What about that
Absolutely.
life? let me share this part. He said, supposing you're saying that if a woman has been, if she's carrying a baby and they're saying that this child is not even going to live a week, you don't think that she has a right to abort that baby? I said, well, let me put it to you this way. Supposing you go to the doctor and he tells you that you've got 1 week to live, is somebody going to come and abort you or kill you because you only got 1 week to live? He couldn't say
Well,
anything.
I'm sure he couldn't. I'm sure he couldn't. And now, absolutely, if he's got 1 week to live, let God be the judge of that life and take it
Absolutely.
when the baby is ready to go. God
Yeah.
gonna take it.
Yeah.
All of those kinds of things. But people don't understand that this whole thing rests upon God commanding men not to murder.
Mm-hmm.
See, and
Mm-hmm.
what they've tried to do is they've tried to redefine what murder is.
Right.
Murder has to be with a gun, with a knife,
Yeah.
with a
A
blunt
human being
object.
that's walking
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But when it comes to any human being in utero, and when that didn't fly, then they changed the fact that the fetus is actually human. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
globs of tissue,
Right.
all of that foolishness,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But if you have to kill it, it's because it's alive.
Absolutely.
See, if,
So that
oh, did y'all
right.
hear that? If you have to kill it, it is
Uh-huh.
because it is alive.
Yeah.
So abortion is simply killing what is alive. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care what it is. You can't kill what's dead. You can't
Absolutely.
kill a tissue.
Mm-hmm. So these are the things that we're talking about. Abortion is just one of them. There's the school indoctrination that's happening with our children.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing of inclusion,
Yeah.
wanting to include everybody.
Yeah.
This thing of individuals being able to determine what sexual orientation they are
Yeah.
when they become of age.
Yeah.
Being able to allow them to say, okay, you're born with male genitals, but yet when you get to be 4 or 5 years old, then you can say that, okay, I want to be a girl regardless of what your genitals say.
Yeah. Superman in the booth. Just go in and change. Poof. You just go. You just go in and change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. And again, we're not talking about these things. We've already talked a lot about these things,
Mm-hmm.
but we're just kind of listing them out for you tonight
Yeah.
again, so that we can make these targets of our
Yeah.
prayers.
Yeah.
Because prayer is key to
Right.
turning these things around
Right.
outside of our actions that
Mhm.
follow.
When we look at the inflation,
Hmm.
we look at the gas prices, and then what about this thing that's coming down the pike? And many people don't know that our money is
Yeah.
about to shift,
Yes,
and
it
it's about
is.
to go to a digital currency that can be controlled and turned on and
And
off
off.
at will.
Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Your bank accounts can be turned on and off at the flip of a switch, and you don't have the control because it's becoming digital now.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, that's not in the Jetson world. That's not futuristic.
See, come on.
That thing is right here
Very
now.
near.
Oh,
Very
it's
near.
very near. I would not be surprised if it launched in the next 18 months to 2
Mhm.
years,
Mhm.
because it's there. It's already under, not a past discussion, it's up for votes.
Yeah.
But you see, our legislators work for us, and they don't tell us what they're doing,
Mhm.
because they know that you'll read a Bible, but you won't read a newspaper.
Wow.
You'll read a Bible, but you won't read an article on the internet.
Mhm.
And because of that, our heads are so in the sand.
Yeah.
Apostle, these things are just slipping right by us.
Yeah.
And so do some Google searching on
Mhm.
Biden bucks, is what
Yeah.
they're calling.
Yeah.
I put a video out on my Facebook page a couple of days ago with one of the senators uh, giving a lot of detail about the whole Biden book legislation,
Mhm.
as well as some other legislation that's tied together with that.
Right.
And she is urging us, please, please call your representatives and tell them, do not uphold this, because
Yeah.
you know what, they work for you.
Yeah.
And if you get enough voices saying we don't want that, they have to go and say the people of our state don't want this.
Mhm.
But when there's silence, and I
Yeah.
found out through that, Apostle, that they are required, even if you leave a voicemail, they are required by law, they have to listen to everyone.
Okay.
So they know how many yays and how many nays,
Okay.
volume wise, maybe
Mhm.
not numerically, but
Okay.
volume wise. We get a lot of yays or a lot of nays. They know that. But when
Mhm.
our voices are silent,
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
does no
Yeah.
good at all.
Yeah.
They think that our silence means whatever their state of opinion is,
Right.
whatever their narrative
And
is.
then if you push back on it, then you're labeled as one who is obstinate.
Yes.
And even going back to this deal with this digital money, we saw it happening in Canada
Yeah.
when those truckers were out there protesting the COVID vaccines and the
Correct.
COVID pushbacks, restrictions, and how they froze their bank accounts.
Yes.
And even the anyone who attributed or contributed to them in their fight, they froze these people's bank accounts.
Sure they
And
did.
so that's an indication to show us what's taking place. If the fiat money goes away, and that's what it's designed to do,
Mhm.
that the
Mhm.
fiat money that we have right now will go away, it'll disappear, and then they will move everything to digital, everything
Yeah.
being digitally based.
Absolutely.
And then the controls of that digital money can be turned on and turned off. So if we don't agree with what's happening in the
Mhm.
administration
They
and
can
we
turn you
begin to
off.
push back, they cut your money off.
Absolutely. You understand, Bitcoin was a big experiment
Yeah.
with digital currency,
See.
and people was loving it. I mean, they just thought it was something wonderful and something new. But you don't understand, the powers that be were experimenting on you the same way they experimented on you for 2 years with COVID, to see
Absolutely.
how much
Yeah.
control
Control.
that they could actually control an entire nation, the whole country. How about
Hmm.
the whole world
Yeah.
at one time?
Yeah.
And so, saints, please wake up. I'm asking you just to wake up
Yeah.
and understand where we are and what's going on. There's something else, Apostle, that we need to talk about here.
Okay.
That
So
I'm a little shocked over this. I think uh, because the consequences, the ramifications of this is so far-reaching
hmm
that it's almost as if we are being set up for a purge.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Mm.
you want to talk to us about this
So
new law?
what we're talking about is the Safety Act that Governor Pritzker in Illinois, as well as California, as well as New York, where they have these no cash bail laws that are going into effect. Now, in California and New York, I believe they are already in
In
effect.
effect.
In
Hmm.
Illinois, it comes into effect January 1 of 2023.
Yes.
And what that is that individuals who are arrested are not, they can no longer hold them to post a cash bail. They're no longer have to post a cash bail in order to wait for their pretrial.
Yes.
So some of the individuals who are repeated felons, and these are even felony cases, felony
Yes.
charges,
Yes.
that if they are arrested on a felony charge, this no bail law is going to restrict law enforcement from being able to hold them on bail
Yeah.
until the pretrial. So,
Yes.
in other words, what that looks like, there was just a situation, I believe it was in New York, where one of the individuals was campaigning and he was on the stage giving a speech. And this guy just walked up to him, walked up on the stage with some type of weapon in his hand, going for his jugular vein on his neck. They were
Hmm.
able to counteract and shut him down. They arrested him, but he was out the same day because of this no bail
Bill.
law.
Yes.
And so
Hmm.
what we're finding, and what it's going to really generate, public fear for one,
Yes.
because
Increased crime.
crime. But we're already seeing increased
Increased
crime. We're
crime.
seeing
Yes.
crime in Chicago like nobody's business, and
Yes.
nobody is doing anything to shut it down. Nobody is doing anything about the crime that's taking place. And these people are just, I mean, this is all along this whole track of lawlessness, of bringing us into a communist, socialist nation.
Lawless nation.
That's where it's going.
I agree with you 100%. Now, I know that sounds like, well, what's the big deal? Okay, why? How is that so very important? Let me explain how it's so important. First of all, um, it does a lot uh, to squash, if you will, the laws that are designed to protect people. For example, a woman has, or a man, not just a woman or a man, has an order of protection out
Mm-hmm.
because they are under severe threat of
Right.
someone
Right.
harming them.
Right.
Well, they violate that order of protection. Now, under the current law, if you violate it, you get locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Under this thing, you can do that over and over and over again, and they will write you a ticket. I have an article here, part
Okay.
of it. I really
Okay.
want to read.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually writing tickets. They're not even putting people in jail. It's no sense in taking them to jail
Right.
because
right.
they,
Because the jails are overcrowded, and so
exactly.
this is what they're saying.
And they're appealing and pushing these laws into the hearing and the ears and appealing to black and brown people.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because our prisons are filled with black and brown
Black
people.
and brown people.
And they're making it seem as if this is something that's going to help you. But I want you to think about the murderer, the rapist.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to think about the women who are domestically abused, men who are abused, who depend on order of protections to keep those perpetrators away from them and their families.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to think about the lawlessness, the shootings, and all of these kinds of things. You're going to write a ticket and believe that somebody gonna show up in court off of a ticket.
Some of it is, Apostle, is that the judge will decide whether or not this crime is punishable to the extent of where they can experience the no bail.
All right. I'll give them
Yeah.
that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's still messed up, Apostle.
Absolutely.
You and I both
It
know
is. It is.
If I may, I'd love to
Sure,
read
go
this.
ahead.
Okay. It says the law that will eliminate cash bail as of January 1st, 2023, and also restrict who can be arrested. So it puts some restrictions on who can and can't be arrested. The reform under the Safety Act that eliminate cash bail will open the doors to freedom for many people currently locked up who can't make bail. So people who are currently in jail and they can't make bail to get out of jail, they're going to swing those doors open and they're going to let them out. So I'm telling you, January 1st is going to be a real interesting day in the state of Illinois. Okay?
And it ain't going to be like them graves opening up when Jesus was resurrected.
Baby, all I know is I got my Ford.
See?
And I'm going to have my conceal and carry before January 1st.
Yeah.
That's all I know. Okay. Let me finish reading that.
Okay.
But Grundy County Sheriff Ken Briley is raising concerns because the law will ban arrest for people accused of certain misdemeanors as well. He cited trespassing as an example, and this is what he's the example he gives. Today, I can arrest him or her if a complaint is signed for trespassing against an individual. I can arrest them. He said, as of January 1st, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Wow.
The law says I have to write him a ticket and leave. So if it is legal or illegal to trespass and people are on your property and you call the police for trespassing, there ain't a thing they can do.
Wow.
You're going to write a ticket and pull off and let the trespasser remain in your purview. I can't believe how this is going out.
Yeah.
It says here, Sheriff Briley worries about the possible ramifications in his community. And if we can't arrest them and solve people's problems, we don't want people to take matters into their own hands.
Well,
when no cash bail applies to every jurisdiction, all 102 counties in the state of Illinois, I'm really concerned about seeing criminal activity that we have never seen before in this area.
Wow.
Now, I know some of you all watching are probably saying, well, I don't live in Illinois. Keep living. See, you have certain test states. Illinois is a test state. New York is a test state. California is a test state, and there's a few others.
Yeah.
Once these things get a foothold in our nation, it begins to spread.
Yeah.
And the only way that you will turn these kinds of decisions is if you turn the people that are making these decisions. And so we understand that it is the non-conservative sect of people the more liberal groups of people. And I'm not going to even just say Democrat or Republican because
Right.
I don't really
Right.
care about that.
Right.
But I care about the liberality of our politics today, that they're out there. They're too liberal.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much freedom
Mm-hmm.
on the law.
Mm-hmm.
The law, according to the Bible, is a schoolmaster to sin. If
Absolutely.
we take that away,
Wow.
even in our common law,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
civil laws,
Mm-hmm.
you understand it opens us up
Mm-hmm.
to the liberties of sin.
Yeah.
And that means crime, murder, violations, all kinds of things. And
Yeah.
so this thing is turning, and it's turning very quickly.
You know, everything that we're talking about and everything that we named are things that are pushing back against the laws of God.
Absolutely.
Everything that we just named, the abortion, the no bail, because that's creating lawlessness. And so
Absolutely.
where you have a nation that have that kind of lawlessness going on, I mean, you've got chaos.
Sure.
And so where's the rulership? Where's the authority? Who's in authority, and what standard do you set to live by?
Yeah.
And the thing of it is when they pass these laws, you know, it used to be a thing of where there was one bill, Mr. Bill. Remember, it
Yeah.
would come down through the pike, and it would be laid out as to everything that's in that bill. Right now, what they're doing is they're stacking stuff up under it and hiding things that are not really on the surface. But then they'll come and say, okay, this safety law,
Yes.
that's on the surface, but underneath it is some
Yeah.
other things that are not disclosed.
Yeah.
And so they are saying that this no bail bill, the way they are justifying it, they're saying that it's going to create a more equitable justice system for Illinois residents, because what they're saying is that it's unfair for people who have money to be able to bail themselves out, and people who don't have money have to sit and wait for a
Yeah.
pretrial. Well, I mean, what kind of craziness is that?
But you know, again, it's the elimination of consequences.
Yeah.
See, we make wrong, we make sin, we make crime too easy.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, the justice system is designed to shut it down.
Yeah.
By making crime hard.
That's why we have a justice system,
Thank you.
penal system, a legal system.
Penal.
Yeah.
We get the word penalize
Absolutely.
from the penal system, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But because you don't have the money to bail yourself out, you should get out.
Because you did a crime. If what they say, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
Well, yeah, that's what they used to say anyway. And so, but this thing is going to, and I understand, you know, murderers and people like that, more than likely, this will not affect them.
Mm-hmm.
But you understand that murderers don't start out as murderers.
Yeah.
They start out as common thieves.
Mm-hmm.
They start out as
Mhm.
common agitators. Thieves don't start out as just breaking in and robbing banks.
Yeah.
They don't. They start out as the kid stealing from the candy store.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the goal is to break that while they are young.
Yeah.
Well, you all understand what these kinds of laws are designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
They are imputing wickedness
Absolutely.
in our society a
Yeah.
little bit at a time.
Yeah.
I am not for this at all.
Yeah.
Do we have any comments from anybody in our audience?
We'd
watching?
love to hear your feedback. We'd
We
love
really
to hear.
would.
Yeah. You know, even when you look at when we look at the laws of God and how they were laid out, there was not an innocent until proven guilty.
No, there wasn't.
If you were caught, if you were deemed that you had broken the law, it was death.
Yeah, it was instant punishment.
Absolutely.
Much.
And
Yeah.
only if you could escape to these sanctuary cities could you escape the death. Speaking of sanctuary cities,
Yes, indeed.
so
That's an entirely different thing there.
another thing that's on this list is a lot of the illegals that are crossing the border. That's another part of this
Yeah.
whole thing that's moving us. I mean, it is so much happening in our nation, and our eyes have to be open to
They
see
do.
what this administration is doing.
Yes.
It's killing America.
It is killing America. America is under fire from the inside,
Yes.
not from the outside.
Mm.
And so I just pray to God that particularly not only law abiding citizens of the nation, but law abiding citizens of the kingdom of Almighty God,
Mhm.
that we would raise up once again as a voice of righteousness and a voice of legislation, and that we would be the voices that will push back against a lot of these things that are being put together. We can no longer afford to just keep putting our head in the sand and
Yeah.
saying, well,
Yeah.
that's not, I'm not in that.
Mm.
That's that,
Mm.
God didn't call me to politics. God
Yeah.
called you to life.
Yeah.
And he said that when
Yeah.
the righteous rule, the
People
people rejoice.
rejoice.
But
Mhm.
when the wicked or the unrighteous rule, the people mourn.
Mhm.
And throw off restraints. The people, we we must understand that this nation is throwing off its own restraints,
Yeah.
and it is
Yeah.
becoming a free
Yeah.
for all kinds of sin, crime,
Mhm.
degradation,
Mhm.
all kinds of appalling things. And
Yeah.
so I pray, Apostle, that just programs like this, we're just kind of taking the time to talk about things and explain them in a way that
Mhm.
people can understand.
Mhm.
I pray that it takes root, that it
Yeah.
takes hold.
Yeah. Well, we just want to inform and to make you aware, and not just for the sake of having the information, but more for the sake of, okay, as a citizen of these United States, and not only that, as a citizen of the kingdom of God, what's my role and what's my responsibility?
Yeah.
And what should I do with the information that's being handed out to me? First of all, I would say continue to research it. Research it out and find out what it really is and what it's really doing, what the underlying things are. We
Mhm.
can bring you as much as we can bring you, but then if you take on the research for yourselves, then you can hear God as to what you need to do in terms of counteracting all of this lawlessness that's taking over our nation.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like we'll get involved when it happens to us,
Hmm.
or when it happens to our family member. Then we're all on the lines with protests and
Sure.
signs and picketing and all of that, but let's get involved now.
Before it becomes a
Proactive.
picketable problem.
Act,
Is that a right word? Picketable problem.
picketable problem. I think we have a comment uh, on the screen. Is there someone that's has comment or feedback? Okay.
All right. One other thing that I wanted to mention before we scoot along for
Okay.
today, going back to the Illinois this Illinois
Mhm.
law
Mhm.
regarding the bail.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing to me how the media puts things together and develops narratives that will pull on your memories, pull on the sore spots, the
Mhm.
source places, uh, the blight, I would say, of people just to try to sell that narrative.
Yeah.
In this article, let me read what it says. It says, uh, that's just inequitable that some people get to be free because they have money and other
Mhm.
people have to
Yeah.
remain incarcerated, which
Mhm.
has all kinds of terrible consequences for people's ability to work, for their housing, their whole families. They suffer. They also cite, listen, what happened to Sandra Bland, who hanged herself in a Texas jail while unable to post bail after a traffic stop, as an example of why bail reform is so important.
Mm.
You see, they hit our
Wow.
nostalgic
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah.
They hit those
Yeah.
places in our memory
Mhm.
that has been painful to us as African Americans,
Yeah.
as brown people.
Yeah.
They are pushing this thing. If you ask the average white person, Caucasian, who Sandra Bland is, they wouldn't be able to tell you.
Mhm.
So in articles like this lights up for the entire African American community.
Right.
I hate the
Right.
way they do
Right.
this. And
Right.
I want us to be wise as serpents and begin
Mhm.
to open our eyes and see how they stack the deck
Yeah.
so that we bite down on all of
Mhm.
this bait.
Yeah.
This people of God is wrong. I'm sorry that our
Mhm.
prisons are full of black and brown people. But let's face it. What did you say earlier?
Black and brown people are the ones committing the crime.
Thank you.
not the only ones, but if they're the majority
If-
ones in the jail, then that says that they're the majority that's
Absolutely.
committing the crimes.
What we need to do is teach black and brown people not to do crime.
Thank you.
We need to get and help them for those that do crimes, sometimes out of passion.
Mhm.
So I get it. Sometimes people rob and steal because they don't have anything. They
Right,
have no money.
right,
They have no
right,
jobs. But
right.
to be able to provide for them and not a promise to provide for them, that
Mhm.
is what we need to be doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And so trying to raise up programs and other things that can pay people to
Mhm.
do what they do.
Yeah,
And I employ the entire Christian community. Let's change this thing.
yeah, yeah.
Let's change it. I'm a black woman, and
Mhm.
my heart goes out for the young women and men that I see incarcerated. Their children are incarcerated. Kids are in foster care. All of the things that come along with it. But if we're going to fix it, let's fix it right.
Right. And how did we get to this point?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And the only way we can fix it is by going back to find out how we got broken.
Absolutely.
We will no longer heal the wounds of the daughters of Zion slightly. We can't put band-aids on these things.
Mm.
We have to bring healing,
Yeah.
wholeness, and
Yeah.
solutions.
Yeah, and the thing of it is like, okay, we're coming up on election. We're in election season. So all of these promises come out, all of these things. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you this stimulus check. I'm
Yeah.
going to forgive your student loans. I'm going to do this, do that, and the other to draw people in. And where's that draw coming to? It's coming to the black and brown community,
Yeah, it
because
is.
what it's saying is that you are so needy that you need me to help you and to give you these handouts, only not even realizing that these handouts are bait
Yes, they
to
are.
pull you into their systems and into their narrative. It's like we really need to wake up.
Yes.
So
we
even
do.
with this no bail thing, and I know we're just about out of time, it says that essentially more wealthy people will no longer have an advantage when it comes to pretrial detainment. Cash bail ultimately suggests that if you have money, you don't have to go to jail, even if you committed a crime. This was extremely unfair, and this system
Yes.
crowded our jails with low income, low level offenders. But if they weren't doing the crime, they wouldn't be in the jails.
Absolutely not.
And then it goes on to say cash bail requirements disproportionately affected black and brown people for decades in Chicago due to systemic socioeconomic standards, such as serving longer prison sentences and earning low income compared to white offenders. As we have witnessed, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, the egregious nature of mass incarceration in the U.S. leaves, in particular, poor black and brown people stranded in jails across the country without ability to post bail for simple misdemeanors and low-level felonies.
Yes.
You know, it's just sad that we won't open our eyes and we won't read and we won't dig into what the real deal is and what's really
Yeah.
coming out of this. You know, I'm going to say this. There is a broadband that Governor Pritzker is bringing into play, broadband internet, to where he is saying that with this broadband, it's going to cause Illinois to be the most effective broadband carrier in the world. Now, why do we have to be the most effective in the world? Why do we have to be the ones that supersedes and superimposes everybody else?
Yeah.
There is something underneath
Behind
that.
But we understand that internet broadband is controllable.
Absolutely.
Come on, you guys.
Yeah.
My God. And guess what? It's only people who can't afford to pay for it
Mm-hmm.
that's going to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah. And they're talking about grades. They're talking about the schools, K through 12. So here we got these babies. What do they need to be on the internet for?
Exactly.
Especially unmonitored.
Yeah.
You know, and so these kinds of things is what's happening. It's like I give you a bait, you bite the bait, and now I got you hooked.
Yeah, I got you hooked. And I'm reeling you in, and
Yeah.
you're under my control.
Yeah.
I tell you, Apostle, there are just tons of things that we could talk about. And again, I know that many Christians, unless we're talking about Holy Ghost fire.
Mm.
They're not
Mhm.
going. They're not going to tune in. Okay,
Mhm.
they're going to tune out. But for those of you who care, really and truly care, who understand that your calling God is bigger than just sitting in a local church and lifting your hands every
Yeah.
week, that you are a change agent. You are designed, you have been designed and purposed by God to change things. I implore you, let's get to changing it.
Yeah.
I would love to sit down, have some think tanks,
Mhm.
effective think tanks,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
where we come out with solutions, not a promise to have another think tank.
Right.
But we
See.
have
Yeah.
solutions to
Yeah.
problems and then enact many of those solutions. I would love to do something like that because, well, faith without works
It's dead.
is dead. It is. Well, we're out of time. We've gotten the 0 time mark thing held up in front of us several times. So we're out of time, but we appreciate you stopping in and just chatting with us today. Make sure you share the broadcast. Come
Yes.
back next week.
And
Right.
even give your feedback on, if you weren't able to dialogue with us during the live, give us your feedback. We'd like to know
We'd love
what
to
your
hear.
thoughts are. And
Absolutely. We'd
yeah.
love to hear from you. So until next week, I am Apostle Nona Ray.
and I am Apostle Glenda Ray.
And
And
we are God's girls.
We're
Keeping it real. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
I am Apostle Nona Ray.
And I'm Apostle Glenda Ray.
And we are God's girls. Keeping it real.